NTV, we're live from Kampala's Serena Conference Center, and it happens to be one of the last Thursdays of this month. Now, when he took over, there were fears that he was just a seat filler, but his staying power has surprised even his most ardent critics. And he keeps saying that his ability to surprise is his biggest advantage. He will be launching his plan for Uganda in Soroti. Ladies and gentlemen, this Saturday morning I'm joined by Honorable Patrick Amuriat, the man who shocked a general. Welcome to Morning at NTV. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning, Andrew, and good morning, viewers. I think you're really being unfair to the general.
I'm not being unfair.
This was a contest that we
Yes.
went into, a friendly contest, and
Yes.
the delegates decided. So I think shooting down a general is really being so harsh to him.
Okay, let's first look at how are things holding up, Honorable, on the ground?
Well, we are crisscrossing, running east to north, south, west, trying to get ourselves organized. I think we're really coming pretty together on this, and what is happening pleases me a lot because the team is upbeat, everybody is doing what they are supposed to do, and really this campaign seems to have generated a lot of excitement from our side,
From your side.
and the momentum is being generated.
Oh,
It's good for now.
On your travels on the ground, what do you make of the electorates when you hear their issues, they're amplifying? What do you make of them? Are they civic enough now to say that I'm going to make a rightful decision, regardless of the odds currently at play?
Well, first of all, I realize that departing from the candidature of Dr. Kizza Besigye is certainly causing a bit of excitement on me.
Oh, yes.
That I should be the one really to, be on
morale
the ballot paper
Yes.
in place of Dr. Kizza Besigye. Of course, it was based on our own internal processes.
Oh, yes.
That is what brought me forward. And so they're saying, okay, this is the man after all.
Yes.
We have seen him before. Because I am a countryman,
Oh, yes.
I've been around the country, I've been here for some time, and it's feeling good that people are following what, as the FDC, we are doing. But most importantly, is that the team has remained together.
Okay.
Regardless of the turbulence that we experienced in the party, following the departure of General Muntu that all viewers know about.
Oh, yes.
We have taken control over the party and, propelled the party forward. And therefore, the backing of the population, particularly our members, is something that we enjoy today.
If someone would allude to what you're saying, you've used a very key word, and I want to use the word party members. We have a difference between party members and fans of the party. And members are grounded depending on the ideology. Now that I have you and said, please baby step us as Ugandans, what's the ideology of the FDC party?
Fairness. That is the word that summarizes what we stand for.
Oh,
Fairness in everything.
Okay.
Equal opportunities. Ugandans are born Ugandans, those born who are citizens of Uganda. And when you alienate the others, the other section of Ugandans gain at the expense of the other section, then we feel that section of the public is being enslaved by the master. And you see, this is what is happening today. So we believe in fairness, we believe in equal opportunities. We are center-right, if you may want to use that, yes, that term. And being center-right, we really want to see equality, that is given to the citizens by themselves. So they work for that. And the state then helps them to achieve equality by giving equal opportunities.
Okay.
It's completely different from what is happening today, where a 1% of the population using 9% has enslaved 90%. And that is the difference between us and what is happening in NRM. For us, we are going to do what we preach. And that is precisely what I stand for going forward into 2021 as a presidential flag bearer.
Okay. Give us a sense of what kind of party FDC is under your leadership, especially in times when you have one of your predecessors running a platform called People's Government.
People's Government is a creation of the FDC.
I'm glad that you said it's a creation of the FDC.
Yes, because it came into life from a resolution of the National Executive Committee, NEC. And ever since, they have continued to operate in tandem with the FDC. We participate in the activities of the People's Government as they also get involved in our activities. Now, the People's Government is a struggle front. And going into this election, we are going to manage two fronts. One is the plan that is referred to as Plan A, that I am now going to lead, and then Plan B, that my mentor, Dr. Kiza Besigye, is going to be leading. And so this election is going to be different.
So
unlike all the other elections, it's going to be different because we're fighting on two fronts. Previously, we have fought on one front with the same leader. This time, we have two leaders managing two fronts. And so the heavy lifting for anybody who comes our way is really tall order. So
Honorable, you're giving a perspective that all this is going to work irregardless what, if fairness prevails in the polls.
Even if fairness does not prevail.
I love this energy.
Even if it doesn't prevail, because look here, Mr. Museveni may want to award himself 80%, 90%, 99%. It doesn't matter to us.
What matters?
What matters is the will of the people.
The will of the people.
And I want to say to viewers, a few years back, Hosni Mubarak, who was then the leader of Egypt, decided to allocate himself, with all the military arsenal, with, an advanced level of technology in terms of the military, with what seemed to be a loyal military force behind him. And he goes into the election and allocates himself about over 90% of the vote.
Landslide.
And, 1 year after that, he's out of power. The will of the people, once it's not respected, could cause trouble for anybody who chooses to subvert the will of the people. And I see this playing out in Uganda in the next election. And that's why I'm not worried about the opinion polls that
Plan
have been put up.
Plan B are going to work in tandem.
I'm really not worried about whether Museveni is going to change the Electoral Commission tomorrow. What matters is the will of the people. And I want to say to viewers, I have been moving around the country. People are tired. They are disappointed with the regime in power. They want it gone yesterday. And, they are working hard to do this. All that they have lacked is the traction given to this kind of approach by leaders. And we've been working on this for the last 4 years now, under the auspices of the People's Government. And so we never went to sleep. Immediately our election was rigged. In 2016, we set the ball rolling. We began to work. We ran campaigns. We have run My Land, My Life, time up at 75, Toji Kwatako, Tubalemese. All these campaigns were a build-up into reclaiming our victory, and therefore we are poised to do this using the efforts of the Ugandan population.
Honorable Amuriat, you really sound that FDC has already planned the win already. I see it on the other side where you're just going to be inaugurated in a way. The will of the people, I want to depend on that. Given the will of the people and how it's going to turn out, in these kind of elections where we're having virtual campaigns, where COVID-19 has come through and you're not allowed to equally have free rallies and all that, how has this affected the big agenda of Plan A and Plan B?
We're going to reach the last person.
You're going to reach?
We are going to reach the last person. I would like to say to viewers that this is possible. And we are going to play this game depending on what our main opponent does. If our main opponent, which is the NRM, decides to go the way of their primaries, beating up people, gathering people in utter disregard for the standard operating procedures, thinking that the FDC is just going to sit, you know, on their veranda and just allow the NRM do what they want, then they are in for a rude shock. It's not the FDC alone that is going to prevent the spread of COVID. And so I would like to quickly add that we will not allow anybody under the sun, for whatever name he is called, to trample on the rights of our members. We will not allow. We know our rights as enshrined within the Constitution, and if there is any rule in whatever name that violates those rights, we shall stand up against those rules. And that is clear-cut. There is no negotiation about that. That is how the FDC is going to play its business.
Okay.
So we are going out to the population. We'll be speaking to every man, every woman who is going to vote. And the agenda is going to be set. The tone of this campaign is going to be set on Tuesday when we march from Najana and Kumbi to go to Kyambogo for nomination.
You're going to march?
We are going to do that by defiance. And our people out there have got to be prepared. The blue people and our sympathizers should know that this is their country, and they should not give it away to anybody using whatever means.
So defiance is the way to go on the nomination day?
Every time we are going to go along defying everywhere we
Honorable
go.
Amuriat, what happens if you defy and you're walking and you're marching to Kyambogo and the police in one way or the other gets you along that ruckus and you don't reach the nomination time? Won't it affect
my
your
intention
nomination?
to go for nomination would be known. And so if the police choose to kidnap me and fail the process of my nomination, then they would be shooting themselves on the foot.
As a leader?
The government of Uganda and citizens of this country and the enforcement agencies need to understand that this is one of the biggest political parties in the country.
Yes, it is.
And we have a countrywide network. We have people who are grounded, well-informed, trained. And so it's going to turn the whole situation the other way around. If a main candidate is stopped from getting nominated on account that he is driving along Entebbe Road, and Kampala Road, you know, with his supporters, you know what can happen.
The Electoral Commission came out categorically this week and said each person who is going to be nominated, you're going to go with 10 people. Honorable, is it just not fair to follow the SOPs because it's health-wise and you just get 2 cars with yourself, you go to the nomination center, you get nominated without processions? How hard is that?
What is wrong with the procession?
We are looking at the
COVID-19
COVID-19 guidelines here.
Please go to town and see what is happening. Let's not deceive our Ugandans. Go to funerals in the villages and see what is happening. Are the SOPs being respected? Even in funerals, you know, at the backyard of Mr. Museveni, you saw what Jane Ruth Acheng did last time. You know, going to a campaign meeting, surrounded by women and men, not wearing masks. And you think that, you know, power coming out to town should be stopped being waved by his supporters? What kind of country are we in?
I thought as a leader you should be the one to champion the health standards. Well, 2 wrongs don't make it right, Honorable. If she did that, you can choose to do
what
otherwise.
we are saying is that the SOPs and really this COVID story is intended to clamp down on the opposition. And this is the reason why, despite all the calls that we made to Mr. Museveni to declare a state of emergency in this country and therefore cause a postponement of this election, fell on deaf ears. And this is the trouble that we are facing now. it would have been simple to say we're extending the term of office bearers on account of COVID. And would not have complained as political parties. We would have respected the decision of government. We would know they are well intentioned. But you know, this kind of half-half thing, you know, playing a game where you keep changing goalposts depending on the situation is something that we're not going to accept as a political party. No, we won't.
Well, coming now to opposition, I saw your poster of by the way, you looked very good on your poster.
Oh, thank you very much. I had to be beautified. You really do not know the way this designers,
like, this is the boy I know.
Wash your face, do this,
look
do
good.
that, look good, and you got to be smiling. And you know, we are always stressed as politicians.
You
in the opposition,
to the
really to get something good takes quite an effort. I think I'm very happy that I look beautiful on the poster.
Yes, and I want to commend the FDC for that. But when I looked at your poster and I looked at the poster of General Mugisha Muntu and I looked at the poster of Bobby Wine and I'm yet to see the poster of Norbert Mao. However, there is one thing in common. All of you are alluding to a new Uganda. It is something, it's just maybe the change of the arrangement of the words, but it is engulfed in there, the new Uganda, the new direction. Then I'm wondering, why can't the opposition, because they all seem to have the same angle, the same direction of a new Uganda. Honorable Amuriat, why couldn't we just have one candidate? Okay, for the sake of this conversation, now that you're here, why couldn't all of them join behind you and we had one candidate? Because you all want a new Uganda anyway.
I think that, Andrew, what is true is that we have always led the way.
Okay.
From the opposition side, I think we issued our posters first.
Indeed.
And it was building a new Uganda. It's a good thing that my brother Chagulanye is talking about a new Uganda.
Yes.
I don't know, that needs to be unpacked.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, for us, we are building a new Uganda. I have not had the opportunity to look at the general's poster, but I would trust that you are telling me the truth about the common direction that we want to take.
A new Uganda.
And so for us, really, I think that it's a good thing that from the word go, we seem to be moving in the same direction.
Okay.
I do not want to exclude the possibility of us uniting as a common front. One thing that is very clear now that we are actually making the last turn towards the nomination is the fact that we may not coalesce at this stage, although it would have been desirable by Ugandans. But there is a possibility of coming to some kind of agreement within the campaign period, during the election, and even after the election.
Okay.
Imagine that none of us gets 50% plus one.
And you have to go back.
And we have to have a rerun. My expectation would be that all the political parties in the opposition, just assuming that it's Museveni who gets about 43 or something,
why not
and doesn't make, or myself getting maybe 48.5, then my expectation would be that to make up for that 1.5 plus one vote, the other opposition parties would come behind us. And this should really go for all the other political parties.
Oh, yes.
There are, however, areas where we might be able to cooperate. In messaging, you've just touched on one of them. You know, what we are projecting as political parties in the opposition is a completely different Uganda from what it is today. That is what we look at Uganda being in the future, in the hands of one of the political parties that is not in power today, or independence for that matter. Now, we think that going forward within the campaign, we should have a common message. A message of hope to Ugandans. They should not despair. We are going to go out to say to Ugandans the kind of fallacy that we've been treated to in the 35 years of the NRM. We will go out to the people of Uganda to expose the NRM as people who have totally failed them, failed to unite the country, failed in the economic policies, you know, failed in development of the country, failed in service provision, and that is all spelled out in our manifestos. But very importantly is for us to fight back when attacked. The FDC previously has fought a lone fight. You know, the kind of harassment that Dr. Kiza Besigye has faced all this time is something that cannot be underrated. So we are going to stand up to cause a defense mechanism around ourselves. And the togetherness in the opposition could help these defense mechanism to become stronger and stronger. Well, thirdly, Andrew, we could also cooperate in terms of voter protection. But before that, asking our people to turn out to vote. Vote protection is very key. And this is where Museveni has generated the greatest expertise. Together with his people, they have stolen our vote several times.
So have you learned the hard way from him?
And we have learned the hard way. We have, you know, the common tricks these days do not work.
Plan A, plan B.
Yes. And so, again, after the election, if this nonsense of 90%, 80%, you know, come up.
In the last election, he said he was cheated. He should have gotten something.
No, I think that is, everybody knows that that is a joke. Some say it was a joke at the time. I hope he's sobered up now.
Okay.
Now, we can cooperate in case there is this nonsense of saying, you know, 80% without justification happening. And that is when we will make a rallying call to Ugandans and say enough is enough.
This is it.
This is it. We can't go beyond this point. So for me, a warning that we as the FDC are sending out to whoever wants to play with this vote, that they are playing with fire.
Honorable, when you look at these, from 2006 when the FDC started to play a key role in the nation's politics, the odds have not changed. They're still the same odds. Why do you still want to say that, given that the odds have not changed, we're still going to make the change we need to see?
I think you are inaccurate in saying the odds have not changed. The odds have certainly changed.
How?
We have an empowered population today.
That's true.
Just go out and see what happens. Land grabbers come to a village, the population rises. Says, no, we are going to burn this caterpillar. We're going to burn a bulldozer. We are going to cut somebody to pieces if they come and touch our land. 20 years ago, we had a very naive population. The population has grown in confidence. They now are better informed than they were in the past. They can see through the lies of their tormentors. And therefore, you know, the game plan has completely changed. The community is prepared to demand for services.
And accountability.
And then you see when there is a bumpy road or a road causing a lot of dust, they plant matoke on the road. Never gamba. We are to koye, you know, to akoa, you see. And, you know, this is the population that we are dealing with. They will demand. You know, I remember during our campaigns, walk to work, and even before, you'll find people in downtown complaining, we can't close our shops. Where shall we make a living from? But today, they are doing it by themselves. When there is no power for endless days, they close businesses. You've seen riots on Nasa Road, close to us here. And this is now shows a population that is exuding confidence, you know, prepared to move forward and, you know, stand up for their rights. So the environment, the operating environment is completely different from what it used to be several years ago.
You earlier alluded to that the issue of vote protection. You said so much that the voters are going to protect their vote. But earlier on, we had Honorable Semjung, and on this very site a few weeks ago, and he said this election is going to be quite challenging because the FDC has not fielded some positions, rather some MPs or some positions across the country. Now, I'm wondering, how are you going to protect your vote when in some areas you don't even have agents there, you don't even have MPs or anyone to stand in those particular positions?
The FDC is not about leaders alone. The FDC is about the networks that we have. You know, for us not to
So
have...
the networks cannot give us leadership
For us not to... Some have got difficulties.
Okay.
Remember, you might have a very, very good leader, chairman of a party in a constituency, because that is our formation. We have constituency leaders, we have district leaders. You may have a good chairman who does not have the academic qualifications.
But he's a good leader.
Yes, you know, on account of not having senior six or its equivalent, they cannot contest for member of parliament. And so in situations of that kind, we are going to reach some memorandum of understanding with independent candidates to be the ones to help our structures that are grounded to protect the votes. Not only protection, you know, to ensure that our members go to vote. Before that, they should be able to campaign, run a strong campaign, and then, you know, protect our victory after all this is done. So, I have a feeling that we are up to the task. I'm sure that the Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda said what he said here as a challenge. Yes, that's a great challenge. But we got to stand up to whatever challenge comes our way. That is why we are good leaders.
So
and so it will take ingenuity on our part to ensure that we plug the outlets so that we have a robust team to take care of our votes. So it is going to happen using our elaborate network, our leaders who didn't qualify but are still there to protect our votes.
Given that you've identified the challenge there, that yes, within your networks you have quite very good leaders, but they don't have academic qualification, does the FDC have a mentorship program where they could possibly have these leaders go back to school and acquire so that they prepare for the next generation? Because it doesn't stop at you from what you're alluding to, it's to the next generations as well.
Well, I think that it's not about only qualifications. It's about leadership acumen as well. And so the FDC is in the process of developing a leadership academy, not associated to government like the one in Chankwanzi, where ideology is taught. We'll be imparting different skills to our leaders. And right, Andrew, we're going to go and look at our leaders, you know, who may be good, but for one reason or another, including academic qualifications, cannot contest. We'll encourage them to go back to school. We can offer scholarships. We can ask our friends who have schools to take them up as students with a view that we grow them within the system so that, you know, we prepare them for the next election. And so those are plans. In fact, they're already ongoing for some of our leaders who went back to school, some who have made it to the nomination, through the nomination, actually a product of that school of thought. And we are very happy for them because they have come a long way, you know, gained education, gained the equivalent. And, you know, it's not just about political contestation. We are also going to be promoting a workforce in this country.
Oh, yes, from the grassroots.
Yes, people who can be skilled so that when we take over, we have a ready and committed workforce that can run this country.
Talking about the roads, earlier on you alluded that the populace, if the populace is disturbed, you use the word back or watwako, they will demand for that. My colleague Ariong happens to be money that was dispatched for roads that wasn't working. They started to work until when they started to make the noise, the IGG went, and all of a sudden now Maram is showing up. They have finally found the money.
Well, this is
what do you make of this?
This is really what I was saying earlier on. A Beam district, like most parts of Karamoja, is a laid-back district.
Indeed.
Previously, no accepting everything. They would, you know, not stand up for their rights. Now, that sleepy district,
is rising.
I'm really not insulting them,
yes,
has now woken up. And this is what is happening all over the country. We have wake-up calls coming up that now need leaders to provide or give direction to the people. And I think the people in power today need to be alive to that fact that no part of this country is going to accept these kinds of things. What Mr. Ryong is reporting is happening in the other parts of the country. And this shows a total collapse of order in the country, where money is released and nobody is following up on that money, and that it is upon the citizens to raise issues for anybody to even rush and see what is happening. It means the whole system has collapsed. Institutions have collapsed. And the meaning of this is that the state is on its way down. And I think this should worry everybody. But also, you know, this is something that we are going to take advantage of going into the next
opposition.
Election. Yes.
Okay, Honorable, you promised to deliver a text, and you're capable of delivering a sub-region. But one would actually wonder that, Honorable, you failed to win, rather to secure the Komi municipality seat. How are you going to secure the presidency?
It wasn't the Komi municipality seat. It was a little county called Kanyum.
Yeah, Kanyum, yes.
Kanyum was a creation created from Komi that I previously represented. It was a bigger constituency. And there had been a lot of attempts before to get me out using funny methods. But because of the size of the constituency...
Attempts from who?
Yes, the regime. They didn't like what I was doing in parliament. But because the constituency was large, they would affect me, you know, in one corner, but I would recover from the other. And so I kept going for the 3 terms. It's not like the NRM and Museveni liked my being in parliament. The people fought with me. Then they discovered the formula.
And the formula was?
Gerrymandering. Split up the constituency into 3. Out of a single constituency, we now have 3 constituencies. The one that I would naturally go for was Kanyum, because that is my home in Ajuket. And I did go for it, but to the advantage of the regime, because then the military was deployed, and everybody knows that General Angina was detailed to ensure that I don't return parliament.
Charles Angina?
He flew a helicopter, gunship, to villages, terrorizing, threatening the population with death.
You saw him do
this? Yes. In fact, if he's honest, he even almost assaulted my assistant who was taking pictures and took away his telephone that was using as a camera. To date, we have never recovered that telephone. Don't mind that it may be a cheap phone, but I think should have had the courtesy to give back this young man.
A full general to do
Yes,
this?
his telephone. That's shameful. And I think that the army, you know, at this point, I think I need to say this. The army needs to serve the people of Uganda.
Because that's worrying me. You're talking about a general in an election.
Yes, and they are preparing to come for the next election. And the population needs to be forewarned about, you know, their presence there. And they should stand up against whatever general or army personnel comes to the election. So I was hounded out of that constituency using money and sheer force. Going back to the nation of Uganda and the campaign. This campaign is not a power campaign alone. I represent an institution. I am a proud leader of the FDC, one of the biggest political parties in this country. I am not going to be going to each and every homestead soliciting for votes. The meaning of this is that it is the structures that are going to run the campaign. It's the people of Uganda who are going to run the campaign. It is the people of Uganda who will finance this campaign. I know you want to take me there.
That's where we're headed.
Issue of funding.
Of financing, yes.
Yeah, we know that, let me preempt this. We have had a situation of COVID where looking for money, you know, fundraising has been extremely difficult. We are actually moving a steep hill in as far as this is concerned. So, because of COVID and the effect that it has had, the toll it has had on the economies around the world, we can't go to our friends and ask for money. We are even shy about it.
I know it's tight.
We can't even, you know, use our local, you know, previous local relationships to raise money. So what we are going to do is what happened in the election of 2016.
Take us back.
We went around the country. Our fuel was bought by the people, common people.
Oh, yeah.
We were fed by them. We were housed by them. We were encouraged by them. In fact, in certain cases, you know, they even clothed us, where the going became very tough for us. And so
it's entirely
a
people's
bulk
approach.
of what we used actually came from the people. In the same way, we have gone back to the people. We are asking them to support this campaign, because this is a campaign of liberation. The people that we want to liberate, for which we provide leadership, are the people of Uganda. The people of Uganda, therefore, should be interested in funding this campaign. And I would like to just relate an experience that was quite humbling to me. Somebody called Opio Richard, coming from the district of Soroti, Gweri sub-county, in a village called Dokolo, comes to my office with an envelope. And, you know, I have kept that envelope. I'm going to keep it as a souvenir. And he writes on it and says, I'm going to support your campaign. I am Opio, and we want you to become president of Uganda to lead us. Here enclosed is 50,000 shillings.
Is a Ugandan who believes
Yes,
in
and
the
you know,
struggle.
5 notes of 10,000 each.
That
The
means there's
peasant,
7.
somebody coming from the
Dokolo.
village, selling his produce and saying, I am going to join this campaign.
Believes in the struggle.
Yes, because they are tired. Bako, they are really exhausted. They want to remove the dictatorship. And so they are prepared to participate in this. So the campaign on our part is not going to be very difficult. We are going to live among the people. Actually, we are going to run a tented campaign. We are not going to be staying in hotels, because the idea is for us to bond with the people.
Oh, yes.
And you see, you were asking about what I bring into this candidate.
Oh, yes.
Knowing Uganda in the raw way is what I bring.
Organic way.
Really, really raw as it is. I come from a community that is disadvantaged. I come from a community that is impoverished. My region, the eastern region, beginning from Busoga all the way to Karamoja, is the poorest part of this country. And you know, if you went on to the north, where I have a sense of belonging, having a mixed parenthood myself, I know, because I have lived through hard times. And so, coming from a humble beginning, where people are deprived, I know what it means when you talk about poverty. I know what it means for young people to leave their villages, running from the challenge of poverty, looking for opportunities, and ending up in Kampala streets as security guards. It is from my region that you have, and the north, that you have a majority workforce in the sugarcane plantations. It is from my region where you have young people who, after their parents sell everything in terms of possession, they cannot get a job, because jobs are given on the basis not of merit but of patronage. It is from that region, the north, the greater north, where you can smell poverty, you can feel poverty, you can hear poverty, you can taste poverty, and you can see poverty. So all the 5 senses that you have, Andrew,
are all activated to
yes,
poverty.
Yes, when it comes to poverty,
so
it is conspicuous.
How do we change that situation?
Change.
It's not only from the north and the east, but the entire nation grid.
Well, we're talking about fairness. We are talking about equality. We are talking about a united nation. I see Mr. Museveni and his people trying to teach patriotism in schools. When I was growing up, a young person from Acholi, I remember my cousin Livingston Okumu, came to Budo to study in King's College Budo from his local school in Palenga, near Bobby. I went from Teso and went to study in Lango College. Our Secretary General, Nandala Mafabi, came from Bugisu to Busoga to study in Mwiri College. There were opportunities for all.
Back then?
Yes. When you went to a health facility, you'd be well received by a happy health service provider. You'd be given a bed properly laid.
Today?
Yes, the feeding would be done, you know, by the state. You'll be given a uniform to dress in if you're admitted. It went to the extent that, you know, some people never wanted to leave hospitals. they would say, but you know, Musao, where are you taking me?
I am still weak.
Yes. Charlie Mulwade. So you found they would resist.
So this is the fairness you're alluding to.
Now, when you look at what is happening today, this referral hospital, Mulago, very recently was refurbished out of borrowed money and given to the privileged few who can pay for the service. We know that through the medical board, people of status are given privileges to go and seek medical attention abroad. India, Germany, USA, South Africa, name it.
Yeah, we have better facilities here.
And yet, the man in the village cannot even get a Panadol tablet. It's out of stock when he goes to the clinic. The health worker is not paid well. And this goes for every area.
So these are the systems you want to change?
We're going to change the systems so that the 90% who continue to suffer can stop being slaves.
Honorable, as you're winding up this conversation, let's talk about dissent in the FDC party or in discipline. I want you to differentiate for me dissent and discipline in the FDC party. Earlier on, our get-up president of Nabira Nagai Sempala, they said, oh, we closed, the debt was gone. And she was denied to, and you're talking about fairness, she was denied to get in and submit her papers after explaining her predicament. And
what was her predicament?
And they said it was closed. And a few days later, it is open for Elias Lukwago to enter, and the celebration was made. So when you're talking about fairness, to the public eye, does it really look like fairness?
I think I don't want to discuss my sister, Honorable Nabila Sempala, in public. It is unfair to do that, and I don't want to trade unfairness. But the fact of the matter is that she's been with us for quite a while, and we know her. You know, why would an MP who is a sitting member of parliament,
indeed,
based in Kampala, you know, the capital city of Uganda,
close to the headquarters,
in fact, a stone's throw away from headquarters, come a day after the nomination has been closed. This MP has a radio, has a television, has access to internet, you know social media platforms, has friends in the constituency, and they come late. That was being cheeky. That was testing us. Now, in all fairness,
was she being complacent?
In all fairness, we at one time thought Elias Lukwago was going to run as an independent. And then he comes and says, I want to be FDC. We would only be stupid and shooting ourselves on the foot if we didn't give him the flag.
Is coming late.
That is an exception.
What makes an exception?
We do not want to apologize. He joined the party after, you know, the deadline was closed. And so we took a decision, a conscious decision, to have him nominated as our flag bearer.
And you call that fairness?
And I think that we have no apologies to anybody. We don't. We are in the positions that we hold to run the party in a manner that would be in the best interest of our membership and our supporters.
So it is nothing, so exceptions
nothing, we're not going to lose any sleep over this.
When do exceptions
just forget
come?
about that.
When do exceptions
this is
come,
splitting.
Honorable?
Sorry?
When do exceptions come through? Because Lukwago was exceptional, and a member of the party was denied, but Lukwago came through as an exception, and you know he had a whole event.
And by the way, he was not the only exception. There came a time when we had closed nominations for MPs. But then we had gaps somewhere.
And people kept coming.
And people kept coming, said, no, I have taken a late decision to join you. What would we have done? Reject them? It would be foolhardy to do that. And so we ran, you know, the party with our heads and brains in those heads. And we take good decisions for the benefit of our party. And it wasn't really an exception to Lukwago alone, Elias Lukwago, and therefore looking unfair to our sister Nagai Sempala. But because we have a party to run and a party that is in competition, we had to take those decisions.
One would think, Honorable, that FDC doesn't entertain people who come up with the contrary opinions. And I'll date this way back, even when Mugisha Muntu was still in the party. When he came up with a totally contrary opinion, there was a lot of intrigue that later on actually pushed him out of the party. Now, you were talking and you're alluding to the next generation, the young generation that should actually appreciate the ideology and join the party and join the struggle, as you put it. With all this happening, how best can the young generation really understand the dynamics at play and plug in?
I think the media has been totally unfair to us.
How?
They continue to drum this issue of different ideologies. You know, Muntu was president of the FDC for 5 years prior to the election of 2017. Before that, he had been a mobilizer from the inception of the party in 2004 actually. Those dynamics existed in the party. But he never left the party despite the fact that those dynamics existed. Our point of departure was actually at a point when we had an election organized by him, using structures that were set up by him, and then a villager comes and says, look, I am going to rally villagers. So I went to the villages. I really didn't care about, you know, the clout with which their campaign was run. The number of MPs on the other side versus the number of MPs on my side. Incidentally, there were only 8 on my side and more than 27 on the other side. This has changed, though, as we stand now. And so, really, it is being deceptive for anybody to think it is the ideological differences within the party that caused the split in the party. I think people had their own interests that were not being served in the party. And they should be brave enough to say this to the public. I think I want to leave it at that. But that notwithstanding, the party has continued to progress.
To move.
It has moved. Power and his team has stabilized the party.
Oh, yes.
And really now, you know, sitting on this chair, preparing to get nominated is really a great thing. Because, as I said, I come from a humble beginning, political beginning. 6 times, you know, running in every election since Museveni came to power.
Wow.
Won 3, lost 3, including the one of the CA. and now, yes. Were you born by then?
Yes, I
you
was
may not
here.
have been born. Andrew.
I was here.
Yes. So I was there.
Wow.
And you know,
I remember my member of parliament was Umatete.
Umatete,
Yes,
Nakawa here.
Nakawa
Yes.
division, yes.
No, so I come from far. Only that people do not want to recognize this.
Yes.
So the man who is going to lead the FDC into the election of 2021 is a well-grounded person.
Tested.
But also really humble guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when people call me a villager, I say, yes, I am. I'm going to the villages to look for the votes. And, you know, from the villages, I'll come to town and march to State House.
Oh, yes.
With the power of the people.
Absolutely. Honorable, we're still going to tap into that. It's still morning at NTV. I understand you have quite a couple of questions on Twitter. When we come back with the Honorable, is going to give us what the FDC approach is going to be with regards to international relations, the issue of jobs and employment. The youth, I understand, have many questions with regards to what is his strategy towards unemployment in the coming election. This morning at NTV, let's take a break. Here asked a question and said that UN record is Munasingo. He says, UN record, you say that national IDs won't remove President Museveni. So he's asking, if I'm a voter and I don't have a national ID, how do I vote for you?
Well, first of all, I would like to correct you a little bit.
To correct this person?
No. You,
Okay.
when you say if,
Yes.
yeah, Amuriat is coming to power. Power is coming to power.
Okay.
Yes.
You're coming to power?
Yes,
Okay.
with the force of the people.
Okay.
You know, you may want to underrate the force behind this man.
I can't.
But there exists a force behind this man. And
Oh, yes.
We're going to utilize it. Now, what we have always emphasized, and you know, in regard to what my friend, the lady Nasingo states, we have emphasized that the vote by itself and in itself is just a piece of paper that will not be respected by a dictator.
Okay.
So there has to be a vigenderako.
That is
something, you know, something additional to that vote to cause it to be of influence
and valid
to what plays out in the election.
Okay.
And I want to take us back to 2016. Nasingo would know that the FDC, using that piece of paper, actually won, because we counted 52.8%. And I am confident about this because I was in the center of this campaign of 2016. I was the national field coordinator. I saw what happened in the field with our people. And, you know, just trust me, when we counted, and we have the record, 52.8% approval rating for us and our candidate, Dr. Kizza Besigye. But we are not in power today.
So you were cheated?
We were not sworn in. Then what happened? So you can pile your identity cards as much as you want, you know, including of your grandmother. And you go to the polling booth, you know, vote for power. But if that vote is not protected, power will not go to power. If that vote is protected and it is disregarded, power won't go to power. If it is even regarded and Mr. Museveni does not turn up in Kololo to hand over power to power, then he's not going to be president of this country.
So what's the call to action to the citizen?
A new ingredient needs to be included in the formula.
And that is?
That's what we've always been saying, struggle. Rise up against, you know, these people who want to continue cheating you. Rise up against these people who want to keep their knee on your neck.
That you can't breathe.
That you can't breathe. And yet you are 90% versus just 1%. Ugandans, wake up.
Okay.
This is a wake-up call to you to rise up to the occasion and defend your victory.
Honorable.
This victory is not supposed to be of power just as, you know, an individual.
It is a people's...
It is a people's revolution.
Okay.
It's a people's revolution that we are merely providing leadership for. And as I said, Dr. Kizza Besigye on one hand and power on the other. We hope that, you know, along the way, our friends will recognize us as worthy leaders, join the fight, and ensure total liberation of our country.
And now coming to the big question of our generation, jobs. In your manifesto, I know you've not released it yet, but what strategies do we have when it comes to issues to highlight and amplify the unemployment question?
Why are the young people not employed? Thieving. The hemorrhage of our resources. Endemic corruption that exists in the state today, superintended by the man at the top, is what is causing this problem. Once power comes to power and we have the FDC controlling these, the state institutions, we are going to plug all those points of hemorrhage. Remember, we have always said we believe in zero tolerance to corruption.
Corruption, yes, indeed.
That is a written policy. It's everywhere written in our offices.
Oh, yes, I've seen it. I've seen it.
And for us, we're not going to tolerate corruption.
That doesn't stop on the walls, it goes in the
Yes,
action.
so, you know, I am sounding a warning to corrupt people in this country. You are in for a big fight.
Power is coming.
Yes. Because it is that money that we are losing that can't build industry.
Indeed.
We are unable to provide adequate resources to essential areas that would build the nation. Today, we are concentrating on wasteful expenditure, including having a huge budget on administrative costs. So that money that is being either stolen or misused could be put into something useful. And once you begin to build the industries, then you are going to create jobs. Once you begin to put in money in little businesses that have been started by young people, then you are going to create jobs. Once you skill the young people to the extent that they can use their hands to produce, simple things that can be, sold out to the rest of the world, then you are going to be employing young people. So we think that education is also going to help. Education targeting the needs of the global community. You don't study something that is relevant that you can't market.
Global community.
Yes. And that way money is going to come into the country and our economy is going to grow stronger and stronger. I was the chairman of the Committee on Science and Technology in the Parliament of Uganda. And actually, I was the first chairman.
Wow.
I headed COSASI as well later. Through that position, I had opportunities to see the way things are done across the world.
On the global scale.
And I really want to talk about this country called Finland.
Finland.
That 30 to 40 years ago, its economy was based on wood and, timber and paper. And it was a poor country.
30 years
Then
ago.
they emphasized on three things. Education, and specialized education targeting the world market. That is where the Nokia Research Center resided for a very long time. I think it's still there.
It's still there, yes.
I visited that center. And you found technology being developed.
From scratch.
Now, you sell technology, and when Andrew picks his phone, a Nokia phone, he's paying, to those people who develop technology. As a result, the teacher is paid well, excellently. People who provide services are paid well. Politicians are paid the least.
In Finland?
Yes.
I like that.
Yes. I mean, what are they contributing?
Here the idea is you actually just come up and say, I think we need like 40 million as MPs. And
yes. Then it becomes a job that people kill each other to get.
Because it's
lucrative. It is it's full of money. Every month you walk with a big bag of money.
MPs should be paid less.
That is going to change. Even the number of MPs. I want to tell you this. We are not going to have a crowd for a house.
You said administrational cost, and does this mean you're going, if you become president, when
I become president,
when power takes power, are you going to you're going to break the entire space of districts and all? And
I don't want to go to the details of a manifesto. I know that there are copycats out there.
I'm trying to tap into that, but okay.
We will have another time to do that.
It will come to you. But while we're winding this up, let's talk about the foreign policy, Ugandan foreign policy. Currently, we're having roads going into Congo, and a few months ago, we had strained relations with Rwanda. What do you make of this?
It's very strange that Museveni has been a quarreling president. Where hasn't he been? Sudan. One time he raised his voice on Kenya, even within the East African region. We see this happening. We are going to warm up the relationship with our neighbors. The mentality of being expansionistic is a mentality that has let down our country. Because you go into Congo, mainly to fight, for resources, and not resources for the country, for individuals.
You went to Congo to fight?
To steal.
You said it was regional peace. We needed a regional that was actually balanced and safe.
Now they came out of Congo. What has happened? Is Congo a settled country? Is it? Today we have got 10 billion US dollars awarded to the Congolese government as reparations to be paid by common citizens of Uganda. The Monitor had a headline the other day, with Museveni chained up. His legs were chained up in debt And they said, I think it will take 79 years
To clear.
for us to pay. Now, you will be dead, Andrew.
Yes.
Probably your son would be dead. You know? So what Museveni has done is to burden your grandchild and my grandchild. And this is unbelievable that we can have such a person running the country, misusing the country. Now, on foreign policy, I think we are very weak from the point of having representatives who are not career diplomats.
Ambassadors,
Yeah,
political frontiers, are they on political
Yes,
frontiers?
somebody loses an election, and because they want to place them somewhere, is a friend, relative, they say go and become the Ugandan High Commissioner in London.
But diplomatic wise?
They've completely nothing, hollow. No, just nothing. And I think therein lies the biggest problem in our foreign relationship.
Oh, yeah.
We think we need to have people who have been taught properly, who have qualifications, who have been tested,
Who are
going
sex
out
people.
there to be the face of Uganda. By the way, an ambassador is a president of the country, wherever they represent our country. And specifically to promote trade, to market Ugandans wherever they represent us. This is not happening effectively. It's not happening efficiently. And something wants to be done in order for this to happen.
Okay.
So I think we have got a very elaborate plan on foreign policies, building or mending fences. We have got to do the fence mending role. Rwanda, we got to talk with them.
Oh, yeah.
And the East African community as a whole to bring meaning to that relationship. Non-interference is going to be key. You go build a road in Congo, and you have just been seeing this road in Abim.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of problems, and Abim is just a snapshot of what is happening around the country. So trust us as FDC to lead this country to prosperity, to good neighborliness, living in harmony as a country, but also living in harmony with our neighbors.
Well, that is Honorable Amuriat Patrick Power, the presidential flag bearer from the FDC party. Honorable, before I let you go, this is your last task. I promise you it's the last one. Look straight into your camera and give Ugandans a message a Ugandan is going to remember to the election day.
Fellow Ugandans, the FDC offers you another opportunity to liberate yourselves from the yoke of dictatorship, to liberate yourselves in a manner that you will be able to enjoy your country economically, socially, politically, a situation where you will be able to move freely in your country and be a proud citizen of this country. This hope for the future comes in the next election, where I appeal to you to consider us as your first choice political party, and of course through me, their flag bearer, go into election that will bring meaning to whatever I have said. Do not lose hope, because once we are united in this common cause, the heavy weight lifting will be made lighter.
Okay.
And so we are coming to you. Our campaign is going to be village-based. We'll be living among the villagers to understand the situation that they go through, and trust that every bit of information that is collected will be treated seriously and solutions found for. We are in the liberation struggle, and therefore each and every one of you has been requested by my party to play the role of mobilization across the country, so that together we may be able to save the destiny of this country, this generation, and their generations to come after us.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable Amuriat. That is Honorable Patrick Amuriat Power from the FDC party. Well, I understand you're traveling around the nation, and I want to wish you a safe journey, because being on the road back and forth, it's only God who protects us.
Yes, we've been, we hit the road the other time in a pre-nomination tour.
Oh, yeah.
Just on the other day, yesterday we came from Mbale.
And right after here?
We are headed for the central west, the western part of this country.
Okay.
And then thereafter headed for the north.
Wow.
And then we will be coming back to town to prepare for the nomination.
Okay, I wish you all the best, and
till
the voting day, we'll be covering the stories as and when they come through. Well, that is Honorable Patrick.